Welcome back, Super Soul Sisters. Today we're going to talk about soccer mum shoes, and I think most ladies will have this one tapped, especially if you're a mother, obviously. This is specifically for mums with kids who are trying to do it all. Now, this is a common issue that we all land up having. Especially if you're a career soccer mum and you've got your job, it's not only is it busy already because you've got kids in the mix, but if you think about in the old days, the mum's job, dare I say, was staying at home looking after the kids. That's all they did, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's any easier, but we do tend to have that extra element now of there's an expectation that we're actually going to be working full-time or part-time or as soon as possible, and then you've got that involved as well. So often I find that ladies, mums, really take quite a bit of strain because it used to be a one or the other job. So, the men would go off to work. Now, I'm not saying that, we should all do that, but I'm just letting like consciously awareness of how we've actually evolved is that we now are doing full-time jobs or part-time, and then we're also expected to be the full-time mothers as well on top of it. And soccer mums, one of the things that I would say, even if you're not working, kudos to you. I remember Oprah Winfrey saying, she can't imagine anything more tough than being a full-time mum, because one of the things is you can't give them back, right? If they're having a problem or they're not sleeping through the night, guess what? You're not sleeping through the night either, are you? So it's that whole sort of thing. And honestly, if I'm honest, like I really struggled with all of that at the beginning, because one of the things, like when I ran my studio, I was able to walk away, at the end of the day and switch off. But you can't do that with a kid, can you? So especially if they're not well, or if they're anxious, or they've got learning issues or behavioral issues, whatever the case might be. So all of these things compound, don't they? They make it even more challenging to actually have to deal with, and you're just supposed to be out there and manage and do it all. And having grown up in Zimbabwe as well, we used to have the benefit, and I know it sounds sort of snooty, but there used to be, and still are, carers that you can get that do all the cooking and cleaning. I mean, you pay them, of course, as you do, but it's not uncommon, even still in Zimbabwe and South Africa, to have someone who can help out at least with house chores. Now, one of the things that I would say about soccer mums is sometimes being aware of, there's one thing, being aware of it and also taking strain with it. And if you're taking strain with it, keep an eye out for that emotional resilience, toolkit that I was talking about, that where you'll be able to do all these things that are going to relieve that stress on a regular basis at regular intervals. Because when we aren't even aware, and we add and we add and we add and we add, of course the system starts taking a strain. We go into overwhelm, don't we? We get more stressed. When you get too stressed for too long, you can become anxious, and if you become anxious for too long, then you become depressed. So we really don't want to have you anywhere near that depression zone. So the whole idea is awareness of, am I doing too much? So get on top of that right now and go, I am doing the job of 10 people. How can I delegate? How can I ditch certain things? So one of the things that I find with soccer mums, and this is why I've given a specific pair of shoes for soccer mums, is that sometimes soccer mums can be all consuming and centered around the children, like the children become the center of the universe. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my kids as well, and they are the be all and in all of my life, and as every mother would have with their kids. But what I would, caution you to say is that with soccer mums, they tend to have it where it is all about that. Like I know one lady who had I think it was 4 kids, and her whole life revolved around her children, and she's a brilliant mum, absolutely awesome. She just became a taxi driver. She raced around from A to B. She got them to all the activities, she booked them into all the activities, she organized all the travel. She was like the PA, executive PA of the household. Everything was, what do you want, what do you need? And my question in there is, where are you? You know, like, where's your time for you? Because, you know, often the soccer mums, the really busy soccer mums, tend to really struggle with empty nests when the kids do leave, because this is exactly what happened with this particular lady. Is the children all grew up, they left home, they went to university in another country, and suddenly, boom, she had nothing, and she didn't have any of her own projects even. Like, she really struggled for quite some time to sort of go, oh, and it was almost like an identity loss, because it's like, well, and I think quite, if I'm, you know, my take on empty nesting is that there is that identity side of it. It's like, you know, there's part of your family, obviously, you know, there's a grief, because what I call the mini grief of losing somebody, because, you know, you're so used to them, you've had them since they were born, right? And then, you know, they leave when they're 18 to go to university, and sometimes, you know, may even stay with you until after university and now go, you know, and sometimes they don't even do that, in which case you wouldn't have empty nest, right? But it might, if you're hanging on in that case, you might be looking at, well, why am I hanging on to them? Why am I not letting them, you know, set themselves free? Because it'll be serving a purpose. Remember, I was talking about the payoff shoes before, you know, like, what's the payoff for hanging on to them? But one of the things I want you to be aware of, so that you can mitigate that empty nest syndrome when it comes, is to start regaining your own self-identity and time for self. So I really worry for soccer mums with burnout, because they do too much for everybody else. And quite often, I'm not saying it's just an Enneagram type, but I do find that the Enneagram 2 tends to be the ones that overgive. The Enneagram number 2, if you go back to the start of the channel in the YouTube, you can look up Enneagram 2, or if you're in the Facebook group, you know, hashtag Enneagram 2, and it'll pull up the video for you, and just have a little look at that. Because if you're needing to be needed, then it's a need, isn't it? And that's where the imbalance comes into play. So what you want to do is, you know, well, not what you want to do, what you may want to do, should I rephrase that, is have a look at it and go, well, you know, how can I shift it down from a need to I like, you know? So I quite like racing around and being there for my kids, but I also do require time for me, and I demand it. Actually, I have boundaries. It's like I have to have a certain amount of space in order to get headspace, to be able to de-stress, to do my kind of exercise, to do my kind of work, you know, to help others. So there is other components of you that is not all consumed with just centered around the family. And absolutely, you know, it doesn't stop you from being a good mum, because sometimes I've had that where people are going, well, you know, they might think that I'm not a good mum, or, you know, they're so used to me doing everything for them. Well, there is that. But then on the other side of that is, how is that going to help them to learn how to fly? You know, they've got to learn a level of independence themselves, haven't they? It's like the mama bird, you know, biffs the baby birds out at some stage and says, baby, you just actually have to fly on your own. So when they are comfortable detaching, it's actually a compliment to you that you've actually done a really good job. So just be aware of that, because it can feel really odd. And honestly, I've had this myself, where it was like, oh, that it happened a bit too soon, and I was like, damn, I did too good of a job, you know. It's like I thought I'd have a few more years still before that even happened. And so I had to do a bit of a readjustment. I was like, oh, what was that all about, you know? And getting comfortable with the, okay, that's a normal process, and how do I get to be okay with it, you know, with the suddenness. For me, that's what it was for me, because, you know, my one child became very independent a lot sooner. Not you know, I was still game to be mum and doing all of that, but it was just that whole sort of, oh, right, you don't want me to taxi you want to catch, you know, I was very safe public, you know, transport to go and meet your mates, or, you know, oh, do you want, you know, oh, I'll pay for your lunches or make you like, no, I'll do my own, you know. So it was even just little things that I was like, oh, okay, that's, you know, I wasn't expecting that, but great, you know, that's good. That means you've done a good job. So be aware of it. And if you're struggling with that, question why, like, because I just don't want you to get to the point where you get to an empty nest scenario, or you've already had it and you're like, man, that really knocked me sideways like it did with this other lady. And it's just like, well, how can I mitigate that? How can I bring it more into balance? How can I have some me time in there? And if you need to get help with that, that's not a high, it's not a big thing. You can go to a life coach, or whatever, to help you with that, or just even chatting to others in the Facebook group, like who else is experiencing this, or hey, you can direct message me and say, look, these are the questions, and if you want, I'll pick it up in my live Facebook chats that I do on Fridays now. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions around that. So yeah, just give me a heads up. Now, if you like this, please do like, share, subscribe. Hey, it may sound like really basic stuff, but it is these little steps, honestly, that create an enormous shift, and can create an enormous shift in your life. Like if you literally did go, okay, do you know what, I do need to look at this, just thinking about it, just becoming aware of, I'm over giving, I'm over pleasing, I'm overdoing at cost to self. This is where it becomes an issue for me. Like, what can I do to change it? Just even thinking about that is a step in the right direction, isn't it? It's a new pair of shoes. It's stepping out of the overly busy soccer mum, so you can still be soccer mum, but just not at the extreme end of it. And it's like, well, how can I do something for me? So it's like, we'll get you on to your into shoes that you do want, which is a bit more calmed down, and on a path, going your own way, where there's your self-identity and your investment in yourself that's still happening as well. Just like doing these videos every single day, 10 minutes. I mean, come on, guys, everybody can do that, right? You can do that while you're making the lunches for the kids, or for yourself, hopefully, or doing your exercise. So I hope you found that useful. Please do like, share, subscribe. If you've got any questions or anything, please feel free to put them in the comments box, or direct message me in the Facebook group, which is free to join. So look forward to meeting you over there. Okay, namaste.